Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pat McCreary, Gallatin's Associate Dean of Students. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to one of the highlights, not only of graduation season, but of the entire academic year, and that is this Bachelor of Arts Awards ceremony, where we acknowledge and celebrate some of Gallatin's very top students. To all of you students, congratulations. You have excelled here at Gallatin, and we are sure you will excel in your ventures and adventures beyond. A few quick notes. First, we will present the awards in the order they are listed in the printed program. So students, please note your spot in the program. When your time in the spotlight, that being this, when your time in the spotlight arrives, please join your advisor on the stage, or if your advisor is delivering remarks via video, please join Dean Rosner and Dean Velasco, who are sitting in the front row. Also, we anticipate that this event will last about an hour and 45 minutes. When it is over, we invite all of you to attend a reception in the lobby. And now, without further ado, please give it up for our Dean, Victoria Rosner.
It's my enormous pleasure to welcome you all to the NYU Gallatin Annual BA Awards Ceremony. Tonight, we celebrate the extraordinary accomplishments of our students who have been singled out by faculty, administrators, and peers for their academic excellence, their brilliant creativity, and their contributions to the Gallatin community. Our faculty are here tonight as well to share a bit about each of these students and their individual achievements. But before they do, I want to offer a few words about our students as a collective and the particular kinds of excellence that they embody. In taking on the challenge of crafting their own interdisciplinary programs of study, these students have shown themselves to be fearless in their pursuit of knowledge, visionary in their blending of the arts and scholarship, deft in their analytical capabilities, and bold in their willingness to traverse the breadth of NYU in seeking out the learning they crave. These students are unusual in their adaptability, their initiative, their creativity, and their commitment to a most unusual collegiate experience. The students we celebrate tonight are intellectuals, to be sure, but they are certainly more than that. They have also made enormous contributions to the Gallatin community through their leadership, volunteerism, and support of their fellow students. They have created and led campus organizations. They have expanded the care and compassion of our community. They have overcome obstacles, they have grown, they have helped others to persist. They have nurtured the diversity of our community and created even more space at Gallatin for valuing difference. I am especially proud of the students we recognize tonight who embody excellence and who do so as the very first person in their families to enroll in college. They are trailblazers of exceptional courage. There are also students we honor tonight who come from all over the world, including some whose studies at NYU took place in a language that was not their own, an additional formidable challenge. Sure, let's go. And all of our awardees demonstrably persevered amid the exceptionally difficult circumstances created by the COVID-19 pandemic, and I will have more to say about this tomorrow at graduation. I salute every one of you for your bravery in the face of all the unknowns that you encountered on your very, very unusual route to this evening. This is my first year as the Dean of Gallatin, and I really want to acknowledge my predecessor, Suzanne Wofford, who happens to be sitting in the front row. for all of her work in creating and sustaining the culture of excellence and appreciation that is on such magnificent display tonight. I also want to thank our awards committee, chaired by Pat McCreary, for their work in selecting our awards recipients. I'll read the names of the committee members: Irene Morrison-Moncure, Amy Spellacy, Rachel Bunker, Alejandro Velasco, Eugene Vidrin, Lisa Daly, Laura Slatkin, Ray George Navarro, Rosalind Fredericks, Andrea Gadberry, Julie Malnig, Malik Walker, and there were also subcommittees that were involved in this work. And I acknowledge them without reading all the names, knowing that our time tonight is limited. But let's Finally, I want to note that we have one award tonight that is being given for the first time, and that is the Rahul Hamid Award for Community Spirit, which recognizes the late Rahul Hamid, an extraordinary member of the Gallatin community, and the many, many ways that his wisdom and generosity sustained and continue to enfold the Gallatin community. Our awards this evening will be presented in pairs, with a faculty member offering a commendation for each of our deserving winners, and I want to bring Pat McCreary back to the podium, who will get us started. So let the fun begin. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Victoria. And for our first award this evening, Professor Lisa Daly will present the School Banner Bearer Award to Natasha Walker. As banner bearer, Natasha will carry the Gallatin banner and lead the procession at Gallatin graduation tomorrow and at New York University commencement exercises on Wednesday.
Hello, thank you. So, I've known Natasha since before I said I wouldn't cry. I'm starting us off right. Before she was officially a Gallatin student. So it feels tremendous to be here with her today, recognizing her, having a sense of where she's going and how far she's gone. This award goes to a single student who models the ethos of Gallatin and its undergraduate and graduate populations. They are exemplary interdisciplinary scholars, deeply engaged in the Gallatin community, and actively cultivate self-design learning at the intersection of academics, professional development, and lived experience. Natasha emanates intelligence, charisma, passion, an instinct to ask seemingly impossible questions, and the commitment to work on answers. Her concentration, systemic racism, and its impacts on economic development and public health broadly investigates racial oppression and medical apartheid, offering critical hope on the possibilities of liberation. Natasha is deeply invested in the Gallatin community. This is certainly not an exhaustive list. She's an elected senator on the Gallatin Student Council, an America's Scholar, a Gallatin ambassador, and perhaps what is nearest and dearest to me is one of our guide scholars. So after graduating, Natasha is going not too far away, just up the road, to complete a Master's of Public Health at Columbia. So Natasha, I couldn't be more proud of you.
Thank you.
If Radia Shardow could approach. And Radia is Gallatin's Bachelor of Arts degree representative. Professor Laura Slatkin is unable to be here, but sent in this video tribute to her. So the Bachelor of Arts degree representative is the student selected by the Gallatin faculty to represent the entire class of Bachelor of Arts degree recipients and candidates at the commencement exercises.
Radia
is an extraordinary student and citizen whose exceptional academic accomplishments and outstanding contributions to the NYU community are recognized by this award. In endorsing Radia for this recognition, a faculty colleague spoke of her brilliance and depth as a thinker and said, "Radia is a stellar student and human being." Radia's concentration explored the nature of collective dissent and the relation of social movements to public policy. She extended her research in a comparative framework at NYU Prague in her junior year and graduates with a minor in Middle Eastern and Islamic studies. And she also was very successful in a course on West African dance. Radia has a profound, long-standing commitment to community service. As one of the leaders of the first-generation low-income partnership at NYU, Radia organized NYU's inaugural first-generation graduation, celebrated last month, a remarkable achievement. And she has worked on a significant range of other important and timely advocacy initiatives, too many to mention. With her massive intelligence in all domains, Radia has been a model of dynamic thoughtfulness, imagination, and responsibility. Putting others before herself comes naturally to her. In a period of social, ecological, and financial crisis, Radia has offered us a passionate, communal vision of change and justice. Gallatin is honored to be represented by Radia Sharda.
And if Sammy Tavasoli could please approach. And in this video, Professor Nina Kornietz will recognize Sammy, who is a recipient of the Richard J. Copenal Award for Distinguished Interdisciplinary Studies. This award is given by the faculty to a student who has completed an exemplary interdisciplinary program of study.
It has been a delight to serve as Sammy's academic advisor. In Sammy's case, the expertise I could offer was not in her concentration, which straddles the fields of creative writing and neuroscience, but in Japanese studies. That Sammy has excelled in her Japanese courses, as well as her science and creative writing endeavors, points to her brilliance as a student. One field requires enormous memorization and mimicry. The other, independence of thought, the ability to read carefully and thoroughly dense scholarly texts and make individual and creative theses out of those readings. Sammy made the Dean's List every semester with a 4.0 GPA that she earned, showing her acumen in every field: hard science, creative writing, language learning, and more. Congratulations to you, Sammy, and an award well earned.
Congratulations. And if Julia Rosen could now approach, and Professor Laura Slatkin will return on screen to acknowledge Julia, who is also a recipient of a Richard J. Copenal Award for Distinguished Interdisciplinary Study.
Many faculty colleagues have attested to Julia Rosen's brilliance, range, and intellectual and writerly brio. One wrote, "Julia is a student of rare intelligence whose thinking is equally philosophical and imaginative. Julia's concentration spans an astonishing breadth of material, from the Western classics to literary theory to philosophy to contemporary game design. Her studies epitomize what can be done with the unique opportunities for creative, rigorous, and self-directed education that Gallatin offers. Julia's writing is also highly accomplished. Her final essay in Stacy Pye's Narrative Investigations course will be published in the journal Confluence. As Stacy said, Julia deserves a Gallatin Oscar. Or perhaps, given her imaginative work in game design, she deserves a Gallatin Webby, or a Game Developer's Choice Award. Kristen Horton and I recently got to see how Julia gamified Sophocles' Antigone, or rather how she gamified the experience of reading that play, confronting its irreconcilable choices and values, exploring the play through the lens of choice agony. In game design, Julia created a stunning interactive adaptation of Antigone. You might think that there was nothing new to say about this play. Julia would prove you wrong. Her capacity to generate exciting new work out of the oldest and most recent materials points to her imaginative bravura. Julia has taught her teachers and has brought her searching intelligence and comradely spirit to classmates and faculty at Gallatin. All this is to say that Gallatin experienced no choice agony at all when deciding to present her with the Coppenole Award for Distinguished Interdisciplinary Studies.
Now please join me in welcoming Professor Rosalind Fredericks, who will present Lagane Fede with the E. Francis White Award. This award honors the contributions of E. Fran White, former Dean and Professor Emerita at NYU Gallatin. It recognizes students whose scholarly or artistic work or practice have impact or significance beyond the academy, particularly in the areas of African history, African American studies, gender and sexuality studies, and feminist studies.
Yeah, come on up. It is my great privilege to congratulate my advisee, Lagane Fade, on winning the E. Francis White Award. Yay! Lagane has built a wonderful interdisciplinary concentration centered on African development studies with a focus on some of the vexing urban and environmental challenges to contemporary development. She also earned a minor in French. Lagane just completed a probing colloquium examining the long history of what she calls disregard in development, a scathing indictment of the long tentacles of empire in Africa, and provocation for what is entailed in decolonizing development. She has a penetrating intellectual curiosity and an exacting but deeply ambitious approach to interrogating some of the biggest questions out there. She's won a number of awards at her time here, including the NYU Africa House Fellowship, the Changemaker Fellowship, and she's been very involved on campus as a university ambassador, supporting the NYU Opportunity Programs for first-generation college students, and serving the Association for African Development. Outside of the classroom, Lagane has worked diligently with the African Services Committee as a legal intern working to support French-speaking asylum seekers and refugees in New York. If that's not enough, she also worked as a production assistant in Steinhardt and as a French tutor on the side. Lagane, I'm very proud of all that you have accomplished here. I've learned so much from you, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Bravo.
Congratulations. And now Alex will be presented with an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award by Professor Ngina Shiteji. This award is given to students who have done outstanding interdisciplinary work.
Okay. So I'm very happy to present this award to Alex, although I'm not handing it to him. Rachel will hand it to him. Very happy to present this award to Alex. Alex is a student who is deeply engaged in thinking about social problems and trying to remedy them. That's a theme that ran throughout the academic work at Gallatin that he did, and it culminated in an amazing colloquium and concentration titled Global Governance in Times of Crisis. Alex's concentration weaves in information from a variety of disciplines, from politics, from law, from history, from economics, my main discipline, and also foreign languages. He studied Japanese, read some Japanese texts, wove a discussion of those into his concentration at his colloquium. So all in all, this weaving of information from a variety of disciplines made Alex's concentration an impressive interdisciplinary endeavor, and one that provides an analysis of uneven geographies of development at home, here in the United States, and abroad, as well as a critique of the role the United States has played in these processes. It was an honor to work with Alex during his time here at Gallatin. Congratulations. Gonna be sad to see him go, but well deserved.
If Mariana Braga could please approach. So in this video, Professor Matt Stanley will recognize Mariana Braga.
A lot of Gallatin students get asked, what are you going to do with your degree anyway? Mariana's answer can be pretty clear. She is going to save lives, and she is going to do it with interdisciplinary panache. She is a public health expert and will be continuing on in grad school for that. But I should point out, she's been taking graduate classes since she was a sophomore. But her public health expertise is distinctly Gallatin. She can explain how Macbeth helps us understand medical decision-making, and how Bergman films can explain disparate health outcomes. Her work is a fantastic example of how interdisciplinarity really matters, and it's perfect that she's receiving this award for it. Congratulations.
Congratulations. And now Sasha Cohen will be presented with an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award by Professor Julie Malnig.
Okay. Well, I'm delighted to honor Sasha Cohen with the 2023 Gallatin Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award. Sasha was a star of a student. I had Sasha for 3 seminars, writing about performance, popular dance and American cultural identity, and the art of film dance. In all of these, she was a leader of class discussion, always pushing the boundaries of our conversations. As one of her recommenders for this award noted, Sasha always asked thought-provoking questions, and her answers were often better than the ones I could provide myself. Sasha is interested in a wide range of cultural and social questions, which she brought to bear in her concentration in producing, promotion, and media management, with a minor in business of entertainment, media, and technology. One of Sasha's greatest achievements was as president-producer of Tisch New Theater. She produced 5 original productions and adaptations off-Broadway, off-Broadway, and virtually, managing a $50,000 budget each season. And I have to say, she produced a marvelous cabaret, a production of Cabaret just 2 weeks ago. During the pandemic, she performed an enormous service to the NYU community by creating and producing the virtual NYU United Variety Show, featuring 200 musicians, dancers, comics, filmmakers, and visual artists. Sasha was also an editorial board member of the Literacy Review and arts editor of the Washington Square News. Throughout her entire career, Sasha has demonstrated astonishing discipline, drive, and creativity. Many congratulations, Sasha, on this most deserving award.
Congratulations. Please welcome Professor Karen Hornick, who will present an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award to Julia Eckert.
Hi, Julia. Congratulations. Good. Hi. Julia Eckert studies witches, amongst other things. Julia herself is not a witch, so far as I know, nor do I believe she actually believes in them, despite her impressively mature interest in their frequent appearance in the archives and cultural materials she has studied so rigorously and creatively. Julia, I'm going to say it again, I do not believe you are a witch, but you do possess, in my opinion, 2 rather uncanny gifts, both of which partly account for your great success as an independent and very interdisciplinary scholar. Julia is brilliant at spotting things hiding in plain sight, and she can uncannily whoosh her interlocutors and readers from one idea to another with clarity, insight, and always impeccable logic. Over the last year, Julia has presented to me an extraordinary series of papers. In one final course paper, she discussed filmmakers' manipulation of movie speed and space to conjure jarring contrasts between deeply emotional experiences of private disappointment and the jagged-edged onward rush of public history. In another essay, she submitted the extraordinarily original synthesizing argument that in East Germany, photography was simultaneously a key technology of repression and at least sometimes a subtle means of resistance, and in the wake of the DDR, a means of self-reclamation by the victims of state surveillance. Finally, throughout her Rationale, Colloquium, and Senior Project, Julie investigated how narratives of history, literature, and cinema continue to circulate jarring, often grotesque images of powerful women in ways that conceal and reveal evidence of the arcane secrets that lurk beyond the routine gaze. Julia is on her way to knowing many more things than the rest of us ever will about gender, human emotions, the languages of cinema, and, most importantly, our collective but faulty effort to imagine what is actually already there, a problem that calls out desperately for young scholars equipped with Julia's special powers. And I'm happy to congratulate you as well, Julia, because you just found out today that you won your senior honors for your project. Not surprising to us. She worked with Professor Moya Lockett, who wrote that Julia's project was sophisticated, elegant, beautifully written, deeply researched, marked by masterful analysis, deft use of a wide range of sources, and an impeccable historical argument. Julia, we always use the word impeccable to talk about your scholarship. So congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations. So, Zach, if Zach Geinzer could approach. So Zach has won an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award, and Professor Matt Stanley will pay tribute to him via video.
Zach might hold the record for the student who spent the most time in my office, even when he wasn't taking one of my classes. And that's even more amazing because his concentration is really far from my own specialty. But he always wanted to chat because he's interested in everything. He would read a book and it would remind him of something we had talked about a year before, or he would make a connection between one class and another and want to come talk through the implications. Some students interested in things like entrepreneurship or innovation struggle with making a rich concentration. But for Zach, interdisciplinarity comes as easy as breathing. I'm so delighted he'll be taking that out into the business sphere. He's a walking model of how the humanities, sciences, and arts can enrich the world of commerce. Congratulations, Zach.
Congratulations. Professor Louise Hartman will present now an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award to Benjamin Kubani.
It is my great pleasure and privilege to present this award for interdisciplinary academic excellence to you, Ben Kubani. Congratulations, Ben. Ben is passionate about urban design and social justice, specifically how urban design decisions have so often reinforced economic and racial disparities. Ben's goal is to change this. Ben's been my advisee since first year, and I have marveled at the range of challenges he set for himself, taking many of Gallatin's most rigorous and time-intensive interdisciplinary seminars, including one of mine, pursuing very demanding internships while also starring in a film, training as a performance athlete, and giving essential what not to wear fashion advice. On the basis of his excellent academic record, winning a very competitive fellowship at the Department of City Planning, and his general I can do this outlook on life, Ben was invited to become a research fellow at Gallatin's Urban Democracy Lab last summer, a position he still maintains. His team recently drafted social housing legislation that will be introduced by AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in the United States House of Representatives early next month. During school, Ben has also been working at one of the country's leading urban design and policy practices, James Lima Planning and Development. They know talent when they see it. He's accepted a full-time job there after graduation. When preparing for his colloquium, it will surprise no one who knows Ben that meticulously organized, color-coded, weighted spreadsheets were involved. And this is how he decided which books to include on his list of works. If Ben were to channel, say, Lin-Manuel Miranda, he might even imagine lyrics to play off some of his favorite authors. Michel Foucault, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Robert Caro, plus our man, Mies van der Rohe. I have every confidence that Ben has the talent to write that song or any other challenge he sets himself, but I'm especially heartened to know that he's committing his time and his talents to address social and environmental justice at the intersections of some of the most difficult problems we face as a country. Ben, you embody the scholar-activist model that Gallatin holds in highest regard. Congratulations on this well-deserved. I am so proud of you.
Congratulations. Please welcome Professor Stephen Duncombe, who will present Ayana Lape-Rolleri with an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award.
In the 4 years that I've been Ayana's advisor, and teacher, I'm reminded of the lyrics to an old Bob Dylan song that goes something like this. Something's happening here, but you don't quite know what it is, do you, Mr. Jones? I've been that Mr. Jones. I actually don't understand what she's doing most of the time, but I do know this, and it is, and I don't use this word lightly, truly brilliant. I got to know Ayana 4 years ago in my first year seminar, where she produced these haunting, beautiful, and deliciously strange videos and original poetry in answer to philosophy prompts for my class. And they were creative expressions that answered the prompt better than the students who wrote traditional essays. And now, as we found out in the past 4 months, ChatGPT can actually write those very well anyway, so this is the future right here. After the class, Ayana became my advisee. Here, too, she represents the best of Gallatin. She's disciplined in her class choices, balancing art classes with liberal arts, but also taking creative chances on new and unknown topics or continuing her education on her passion, which is Korean culture. Last semester, I had the pleasure to chair Ayana's senior colloquium, and Ayana, in typical fashion, chose to explore the truly original topic of angels, not in the spiritual sense, but using the metaphor of angels as a way to explore our ambivalent relationship to those things and figures we worship, such as K-pop stars. As a creative and scholarly exploration and meditation on fandom, philosophy, arts, and culture, it was, and I'll use the word again, brilliant. This semester, I've been working with Ayana on her senior project, which is a long-form video in which she weaves together sound and visuals from K-pop videos, which are recontextualized, re-aestheticized, and illuminated through the intrusion of her own original poetic and philosophical text. I don't always understand it, but again, the word brilliant comes to mind. Ayana is a truly brilliant student in all the different ways we imagine and define brilliance here at Gallatin. And I'm thrilled to present her with an award for the Undergraduate Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence. Congratulations, Ayana.
Congratulations. Professor Julie Malnig will introduce Lauren Markolix, who is receiving an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award.
Well, I'm very proud to be able to honor Lauren Markolix with a Gallatin Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award. Throughout her 4 years at Gallatin, Lauren has become a true artist scholar, combining her love of dance with the academic study of dance history and theory. A voracious learner, Lauren availed herself of every academic and artistic opportunity that she could, including her semester abroad in Florence, where she completed her minor in Italian. In true Gallatin interdisciplinary fashion, Lauren brought together her interest in dance studies with environmentalism, which resulted in her brilliant rationale and essay colloquium titled Dance as a Form of Collective Identity and Environmental Activism. As Lauren herself explains, as she did in her rationale, I'm interested in how dance can and has been used as a powerful form of activism through showcasing and representing identities and cultures, resisting societal oppression, and bringing attention to important contemporary issues such as climate change. Whether discussing the Italian tarantella, the Hawaiian hula dance, or hip-hop, Lauren made a case for the way dance and the environment are intertwined and can serve as a way of bringing communities together. As part of her commitment to creating community, Lauren was also a pioneering member of the Pulse Dance Project, a student-run NYU dance company which unites students from around the university to create and perform new works. Whether in her creative life or academic work, Lauren has been an inspiration to her peers and faculty alike. Many congratulations, Lauren.
Congratulations, Lauren. Professor Kim DaCosta will now present an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award to Joyce Matos.
It's such a pleasure to be able to award this to Joyce, who I have had the pleasure of advising since she arrived at Gallatin. And I will never forget our first meeting when we bonded over our mutual dislike of Billy Joel music. It has been, Joyce came with a real interest in music business and marketing. Over the years, her interest broadened and shifted, and she ended up with a concentration called Decolonial Intimacies that focused on indigenous politics of resistance and refusal. I never had the pleasure of having Joyce in class, but what I did have the pleasure of is meeting with her regularly and talking with her about the ways that all of her classes were informing what became a really rich and deep concentration that really went beyond shibboleths about diversity and multiculturalism to talk about what it means to strike, to withhold one's labor in the face of injustice and exploitation. Her commitment to these issues shows up in the work that she does in her own communities, whether they be in New York City or in Peru. Something that she will continue upon graduation. And one of the best things I love about what Joyce is up to and plans to do is she wants to have fun. And that's what it's been like advising Joyce. Congratulations, Joyce.
And now please welcome Professor Eugene Vidrin, who will present an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award to Emily Meyer.
Hello. Hi, everyone. All right. Should I wait for the music? Okay, there we go. Past the threshold of a Gothic cathedral, and your gaze will rush upwards. Pointed arches stream into fountains of vaults, colonnettes climb stone trunks, and glowing arrows of stained glass indicate a heavenly apex. After breaking the visual pull of these architectural elements, I discovered the marked unevenness of Gothic foundations, vernacular sculptures carved out by centuries of footsteps. In my imagination, the depth of these incisions came to represent a quantitative measure of accumulated affects and transformed devotion, passion, and mourning into tools capable of cutting stone. Does that sound familiar, Emily? I've just read to you the first paragraph of Emily's rationale, where she paused on the threshold of a brilliant discussion of buildings and bodies, faces and feelings, aesthetics and politics, to reflect on the visitor's and viewer's ability not only to be affected by art, but also to affect it in turn, to leave legible traces by means of embodied acts of looking and feeling. This passage is a luminous example of Emily's exceptional ability, rooted in art historical knowledge and animated by a literary imagination, to render visual experience in words. And it recapitulates her own passage through Gallatin, the trajectory of her course of study. Emily arrived with a strong foundation in literature and art history and swiftly built on it by taking advanced courses in medieval art history. The extremes of feeling that she encountered in medieval artworks led her to explore the affective life of images, the feelings in images, as well as the feelings that images produce in their viewers. Focusing on faces, Emily drew on psychoanalytic accounts of identification and subject formation to understand how images constitute our sense of self and other. She examined the long and sordid history of Western representations of the others within and beyond Europe's borders, portraits of outsiders that prop up the self by dehumanizing those it subjugates. Even as she worked to reconstruct and expose the iconography of this imperial self, she turned to contemporary art in search of alternative visual vocabularies. Work that resisted visual forms of violence and domination, not only by questioning what and whom we look at, but also by transforming how we look. Since graduation, Emily has continued to work in both of these modes, reflecting on contemporary art while researching the transmission, circulation, and revision of inherited iconography. As she looks ahead to graduate study, I look forward to continuing to read and learn from her work and from her writing. Emily, it has been a privilege working with you and an honor to present you with this award.
And now please welcome Associate Dean Alejandro Velasco to introduce his advisee, Nicole Myers, who is receiving an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award.
Hey, how are you? Here we go. Hello. Hi. Okay, congratulations, Nikki. I was so excited when I found out that you'd been selected for an Interdisciplinary Excellence Award, in part, of course, because your time at Gallatin has indeed proven to be a model of interdisciplinary thinking and practice, threading together your interest in Latinx studies, media studies, feminist theory, and the arts with a deep passion for and commitment to social justice and political activism. But more so, and I apologize in advance for possibly embarrassing you a little bit, because it wasn't always clear that you would get to this point. I well remember how difficult those first couple of years were, navigating NYU and New York City as a first-gen woman of color from the Dominican Republic by way of Texas, amidst a global pandemic, no less, balancing family and academic pressures. I will remind you, though, that I, of course, never had any doubt that you could and would excel, but I'm nevertheless so thrilled that you did so, especially by finding your stride alongside Arlene Davila and the Latinx Initiative and Project, and in the process reminding me at each one of our meetings that beyond the readings and theories and debates that we encounter in class, what we do must matter to and in the world. For that and so much more, I thank you. Congratulations again, Nikki.
Congratulations. Now please welcome Professor Moya Luckett, who will present an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award to Achilleus of Greece.
So I'm absolutely delighted to be here to present an award to Archie. The only bad thing about it is it means he won't be my advisee next year. So Archie combines a deep historical awareness and sensitivity to narrative with a strong creative intelligence and high-level performance skills. He's another one of our Gallatin scholar artists because he is a fantastic actor. Remarkable both academically and creatively, his concentration focuses on the study of dramatic literature, specifically Shakespeare, in order to understand ways such stories explore the life of the mind. Considering plays as, in his term, thought laboratories, he focuses on the collaborative, affective, and intellectual work of audiences, actors, dramatists, and directors during performances. A gifted actor himself, he has studied the role of acting schools and the institutions they represent, parsing how various forms of training articulate socially and culturally specific visions of performance. Creative and detail-oriented, Archie's work is marked by deep sensitivity to narrative that takes in the historical uses of the performing body. It has been an utter joy to work with him and to see him weave his interest in performance, classical literature, and Renaissance drama into a compelling and original course of study. Tracing relationships between storytelling and the real, his studies focus on the ways stagecraft and acting styles apprehend, articulate, and manage precarity and uncertainty. He is particularly interested in how frustration shapes dramaturgy, exploring its links to the world of imagination and empathy, both from the perspective of audience.
In this video, Professor Adrian Versteeg will recognize Alba, who is a recipient of an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award.
This latest accolade is the well-deserved end of a journey that started nearly 4 years ago when Alba joined my first-year writing seminar. Like many of you here, I was quickly impressed by her dedication, by her insight, and by the authenticity she brings to every engagement. Here, in short, is what we all hope for as professors, a student who honestly cares. But I've also been privileged to serve as Alba's advisor, which offered a window onto her work as a poet, a musician, and a political activist, all domains in which I have no doubt she'll continue to excel. Although I can't be there in person, I join you in saluting the many accomplishments of this exemplary Gallatin grad and in wishing her all the best wherever she roams next.
And Alacia Reep will now receive an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award. This will be presented to her by Professor Laura Slatkin, who is on video.
It is a delight to celebrate Alacia's well-deserved award for excellence across the range of disciplines in which she has done brilliant work over 4 years. Alacia has been a star in courses from engineering and design at Tandon to sociology and cognitive neuroscience in CAS to modern dance at Tisch to computer programming at Courant to culture as communication at Gallatin, among many others, including at NYU Abu Dhabi during her junior year. She's graduating with a minor in technology, management, and design. And with all this, she has been a resident assistant for first-year students, known as someone to count on in a crisis. Alacia's concentration encompassed ethics, psychology, and the development of technology, focusing incisively on the relation of science and technology to the history of oppression. As she has written, she uncovered through her studies the racial bias that shadows these areas. Alacia will begin Cornell's Distinguished Graduate Program in Technology in the fall, and she wrote that she, quote, aspires to make a difference as a woman of color entering a predominantly white, male-dominated career path. All of us admirers of Alacia are in no doubt that she is the person to make a serious and significant difference, and she will.
Congratulations, Alacia. Professor Roseanne Kennedy will present now an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award to Karen Santos.
Hi. I am so pleased to present the award for Interdisciplinary Excellence to Karen Santos. Karen came to Gallatin as a transfer student from the Borough of Manhattan Community College under the umbrella of the GUIDE program. Yes. It is an open secret that our GUIDE fellows are among our most brilliant students and that we all want them in our classes and as our advisees. I felt really lucky to be assigned Karen. Karen's scholarship lies at the nexus of Caribbean and Latin American literature, Latin American feminisms, and anti-capitalist resistance movements. She is particularly interested in how literary fictions can provoke alternative imaginaries for a feminist and more equitable world in the global South. In her 2 short years at Gallatin, Karen has done a lot. In her first year, she was awarded the NYU Gallatin Global Human Rights Fellowship. As a fellow, she traveled to Vieques, Puerto Rico to work with HAZAR. What's the acronym stand for? HAZAR.
Yeah.
And what is the full name?
Basically, the maroon beehive is easier just to find them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a women-led grassroots organization dedicated to food sovereignty, correct? This past year, she was awarded a fellowship through NYU Center for the Humanities, one of the first undergraduates to be selected. And finally, she was an editor of the Gallatin Literacy Review. In the past 2 years, I've been impressed with Karen's determination, brilliance, and seriousness of purpose. I have been also struck by her sometimes surprising modesty. Or perhaps it is just a lack of egoism in that she centers the work rather than herself, or that she wants always to learn more, and it is the learning that is important. But I want to underscore that she is indeed brilliant as well as one of the most caring people I have met. Finally, I want to note that Karen has been accepted to the PhD program at the Graduate Center at CUNY, which she's going to be attending in the fall. I am so proud of her.
Congratulations, Karen. Now, Josie Schneider will be presented with an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award by Professor Suzanne Wofford.
Let's see. Congratulations, Josie.
Thank you.
It's an honor to present the Interdisciplinary Excellence Award to Josie Schneider. Josie is truly an exemplary interdisciplinary thinker, a student of neuroscience and psychology, of literature and dreams, of Spanish, including Spanish art, and a creative writer herself. Josie undertook in her concentration, which she titled Dreams in Psychology and Neuroscience, neuropsychoanalysis, to create a conversation between the physical medical theories of brain science and brain psychology and the concepts of narrative and psychoanalysis. I should say that one of the great things about being an advisor at Gallatin is when you advise someone who works in an area that you don't know very much about. And I've learned so much from Josie about neuroscience and about this bizarre, incredible, angry divide between the world of psychoanalysis and psychological theory and brain science and sort of hard science theories of the brain. Josie hopes to find a bridge between these two approaches to emotion and dreams that often view each other with skepticism, neuroscience on the one hand and psychoanalysis and psychological studies of consciousness and dreams on the other. Her colloquium was a stunning example of her brilliant interdisciplinary work. She began it with the wonderful and chilling print by the Spanish artist Francisco Goya called The Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters, as an introduction to her fascination with dreams and how to understand them, and then talked knowledgeably about several contemporary studies about the mind-body issue before discussing Freud and Jung. Stacy Pies, another teacher of hers, I shouldn't say another, I didn't have the pleasure of teaching Josie in a class, though I've worked with her for 4 years as an advisor, and it's been an incredible experience. Stacy Pies wrote that in her seminar on narrative, Josie, quote, brought her scientific background about the relationship of emotions and perceptions to her analysis of Plato and Don Quixote. Her final essay was a cross-genre piece entitled Case 1605. Don Quixote was published in 1605, which appeared in Confluence. This essay was an imitation of a case study that like a psychotherapist or psychologist would do of Don Quixote as a mad person. And Stacy, which I just think is such a great idea that I can imagine what a challenge Don Quixote was to this therapist. Stacy comments that Josie included some critique of the analyst as well in this study, who at moments seemed flummoxed by the patient. One of the great pleasures I've had this past year was working with, actually before I say this, I just want to say Josie had a fantastic experience studying away in Madrid and studied Spanish throughout her time and really cares a lot about the Spanish side of her studies. But she also minored in psychoanalysis and humanities, so you see a little of the interdisciplinarity. One of the great pleasures I've had this past year was working with Josie in preparation for her colloquium, my one chance to have a little tiny bit of being a teacher, and thinking through all the dreams and intersections of psychology, narrative, and drama in diverse texts such as Genesis, Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, and Hamlet. It's been a constant pleasure to watch Josie develop as a deep thinker. She's considering various kinds of directions in graduate school, and I wish her the best in her project of uniting these two diverse approaches to understanding the mind and to dreams, one of her great passions. So congratulations, Josie.
Congratulations, Josie. And now Professor Charles Gelman will present an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award to Abney Turner.
It is a tremendous pleasure for me to present this award to my advisee, Abney Turner. Abney is a brilliant student, researcher, and writer, and a serious and disciplined worker. I'll add extempore, something I wrote in one of the many letters of recommendation that I've written for Abney, this one for a Dean's Award for Summer Research, which she was duly awarded. Abney is, simply speaking, extraordinarily, precociously, freakishly smart. On top of that, the integrity, passion, and intelligence with which she goes about her work and her compassionate and steadfast dedication to understanding and to promoting the interests and welfare of non-human animals both have been an inspiration to me. Apropos of which, like another awardee, Abney was notified today, as was I, that she received honors on her senior project. So I will read I will follow suit and read one sentence from the email that I got letting me know. The committee especially agrees with Professor Gelman's assessment when he writes, quote, Abney's work challenges us to reconsider our conception of personhood and the criteria by which we judge who is and who is not entitled to moral consideration and legal rights and protections. I believe that Abney's senior project exemplifies the very best of the creative, interdisciplinary, and rigorous scholarship that Gallatin students produce. Working with Abney has been among the very best and most memorable of my experiences at Gallatin, and it is an honor to be able to present her with this award.
Congratulations. Professor Lauren Walsh will now present an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award to Ryan Walker.
So Ryan began at Gallatin partway through her undergraduate career. And I remember our first conversation. You might remember this as well. And I said, why did you transfer here? What brought you here? And Ryan said, well, at my old school, I was able to study photography, I was able to study human rights, but there was no way, no space, no courses for me to bring those interests together. She is an interdisciplinary thinker, and it is no surprise to me that she is receiving the award for interdisciplinary academic excellence. It has been my genuine pleasure to teach and advise Ryan, an amazing student, brilliant scholar, utterly talented photographer, and all-around exceptional person. Ryan has taken multiple classes with me, and one was an independent study where we met every other week to discuss journalism, photography, ethics, representation, all topics that she's specialized in. I always, and I'm saying this genuinely, I always eagerly looked forward to those meetings because Ryan is such an insightful critical thinker and frankly, a wonderful conversationalist. She introduced me to books that I had not been aware of, and they were phenomenal books. You'll remember those conversations. She is committed to righting social justice wrongs and to questioning the dominant narratives that have not always justly represented people or places or events. I am so proud of Ryan for the work I was privileged to see her accomplish these past few years, and I cannot wait to see what amazing interventions she makes in journalism and photography going forward. She's already a photo editor with Hope and Hammer, an online magazine of Black politics and culture that I encourage everyone to check out. Broadly, I would just like to say how lucky we all are to have such an amazing person out there who will help shape the future of journalism. Congratulations, Ryan.
Congratulations, Ryan. And if Trix Willems could approach. Hi, Trix. And here is a video from Professor Lisa Goldfarb paying tribute to her advisee Trix Willems, who is receiving an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award.
I'm delighted that my advisee, Trix Willems, has won the Undergraduate Academic Excellence Award. Trix has been an exemplary student over his years at Gallatin, with a concentration he broadly describes as the language of ideas. Over his time here, he has thought deeply about the phenomenon of language across the disciplines of linguistics, anthropology, and philosophy. Intrinsic to his study has been his commitment to gain proficiency in languages other than English, first in French and then in Korean. As a junior, Trix studied in Korea for a full year, steeping himself in Korean language and culture. His experience deeply informed his rationale, which was beautifully conceived and written, and he spoke eloquently about his concentration and his experience living in Korea at his colloquium. Congratulations, Trix, on this award and for all you've done at Gallatin. I know you will go on to do great things.
Congratulations, Trix. Allison Patey will now present an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award to Laura John.
When Laura first became my advisee, her work as a student, artist, and activist preceded her. In Laura's first semester at Gallatin, Professor Maisha Priest nominated her writing to Confluence, a student publication I then advised. The essay examined the history of the U.S. national anthem and its legacy in the present. To her brilliant critical inquiry, Laura added a series of recordings on violin, She'd arranged each stanza to highlight and honor a different musical tradition of enslaved songmakers. In the semesters that followed, a record-breaking number of professors, 5, singled out Laura's work for publication on the site, and I had the pleasure of learning from her projects, which spanned archival research, oral history, activism, legal scholarship, ecology, and poetry. By the time Laura became my advisee, I admit that I felt more like a fan than a teacher. And I remain a Laura fan, knowing that there's nothing she can't do, and perhaps more importantly, to all that she does do, she brings a deep commitment to justice, care, and beauty. I'm delighted for her work at Gallatin to be recognized with this award.
Congratulations. If XY Joe could please approach the stage. And Professor Ethan Harkness made this video to recognize XY, who is receiving an Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award.
It's my pleasure this evening to address my advisee, XY Joe, a recipient of Gallatin's 2023 Undergraduate Interdisciplinary Academic Excellence Award. Although I can't possibly list all of your accomplishments in my allotted time, a single minute, I would like to briefly recall that you came to Gallatin with already impressive writing skills, and you immediately engaged with the various outreach efforts under the writing program and June Foley's guiding hand. With all the constraints of the then ongoing pandemic, you generously gave of your time and energy in the spring of your first year at Gallatin to teach writing in the University Settlement Society program, and the many and diverse adult learners you encountered benefited enormously from your work. Over the years, we at Gallatin have continued to benefit from your creative work as it has been published in outlets such as Confluence, the Gallatin online platform for writing, art, and research. Meanwhile, you've moved with restless drive through the requirements of a minor in law and society, and more broadly through the arts in your exploration of Chinese poetry, painting, sculpture, ceramics, and other endeavors that resist classification. Mirror calligraphy, for one. I don't know exactly what that is, but it looks cool. At every step as your advisor, I have been privileged to hear from your professors, Professor Radzan, Professor Brooks, and many others, speaking of the brilliant work you were doing in their courses or as part of your senior project. In most cases, my own greatest contribution to these efforts has been simply to step aside and let you do your thing. But it has been a pleasure to see you thrive at Gallatin. You've grown and learned from an amazing variety of challenging, immersive, academic, and artistic experiences, and we at Gallatin have benefited from the many insights you've shared with us, culminating in your senior project installation in the Gallatin exhibition space. So on behalf of our school, I want to say thank you and congratulations.
Congratulations. We are now moving on in our awards celebration, and the next two awards are for the Leo Bronstein Homage Award, and this award recognizes Gallatin students whose work follows in the spirit of this highly regarded scholar-artist. So up first, Professor Eugenia Kissen will present a Bronstein Award to Sarika Dipalapudi.
So it's really difficult to know where to start with Sarika's many accomplishments as an artist scholar. These have included yarn bombing, quilting oral histories, sewing toys out of fibers spun from single-use plastics, and dreaming about a museum of radical love, which actually came to fruition when she met her partner and artistic collaborator, Emma, in her work as a gallery assistant on Governor's Island. Across her work with textiles, food, and with Emma's computer code-generated new music, Sarika's practice is unified by a commitment to remembering and collaboration with the people that she cares about. Even before she transferred into Gallatin, Sarika was deeply involved in activism around school closings in Black and brown neighborhoods in her home city of Chicago, privileging and amplifying the voices of those most immediately affected by destructive and short-sighted policies. She has worked tirelessly to transmit these voices in creative ways through textiles, using voice recorder, sewn snippets of speech, and a quilted panel that will become part of a community quilt. And I can also add that she has won honors for her senior project. Congratulations on that too. So in all of these ways, Sarika is truly inspiring in her commitments to being in and with the places, people, and things she remembers and carries forward. As her advisor and as the professor of both her first and her last Gallatin classes, which is a really bittersweet bookending, I'm so thrilled to present this award to her for her outstanding material practices in all of their political, scholarly, and artistic senses of those words. Congratulations, Sarika.
Congratulations. Izzy Nicer Burns, also a recipient of a Leo Bronstein Award, will be recognized in this video by Professor Matt Stanley.
The Bronstein Award is for scholar artists, and it would be hard to imagine a more fitting recipient than Isaac. I remember once we were having a Zoom meeting, and he was explaining a complicated neuroscience concept to me, while on the wall behind him was his gold record certification for music production. He already had an amazing career in music when he decided to become a student at Gallatin, and the deliberateness of that choice has really shown in his years here. He wanted to build bridges between the sciences and the arts, and amazingly, he built them as he was walking across them. I'm so delighted to see how thoroughly he has exemplified what it means to use the sciences to illuminate the arts and the arts to give meaning to science. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Izzy. And if Arman Ahmed could please approach the podium. So, and it never gets old. And now it is my pleasure to recognize our student speaker for tomorrow, Arman Ahmed. So Arman is going to be addressing all of you tomorrow afternoon from a stage somewhat larger than this and an audience somewhat larger, but there's no reason to be nervous, at the Gallatin graduation ceremony at the Beacon Theater. And Arman's advisor, Professor Mitch Joachim, unfortunately could not be here today, so it became my happy job to prepare some remarks and now to deliver them. At Gallatin, Arman created a concentration that, in his words, sought to investigate the processes and experience of creativity. How does creativity operate? What is it, really? Why does it manifest? And Armand was particularly interested in creativity on the level of the individual as opposed to the scale of a society or the scale of the brain. So when someone comes up with a good idea, he wants to know how that works at very fundamental metaphysical, perceptual, and philosophical levels. In creating his concentration, and this is what I can see in Albert, Armand created or completed 14 Gallatin interdisciplinary seminars. They ranged from phenomenology and the work of art to creativity, innovation, entrepreneurship, to understanding the universe. And just as an aside, even though he managed to take 14 interdisciplinary seminars, he never took one with me. A phenomenal student otherwise, Armand was a member of the Gallatin Dean's Honor Society and completed a senior project that sought to solve a puzzle that has bedeviled academia for 50 years. How Gallatin works. And here I should note that in his senior project, Armand was not asking, and I hope I'm getting this correct, he was not asking how is Gallatin organized institutionally or what are Gallatin's degree requirements, but rather what effects can a Gallatin education have on the intellect and creativity of an individual student. A big question indeed. I have not read or previewed Armand's speech that he will give tomorrow and do not know if he will focus his comments on explaining how Gallatin works, maybe, a little bit. But I do know that it's on evenings like this one and with students like Armand and with like all of the students here that we see Gallatin working. So congratulations, Armand. Now, Professor Rachel Bunker will present a Rahul Hamid Award for Community Spirit to Elisa Barone. This award is given to students who demonstrate both outstanding scholarship and exemplary participation in community building activities at Gallatin, NYU, and New York City.
So it's my pleasure to present the Rahul Hamid Award for Community Spirit to Elisa Barone. This is such a special award. The first year it's been given in honor of Rahul Hamid, who passed away this fall. For those of you who did not know Rahul, he embodied the very best of Gallatin. He saw and accepted people for who they were. He always wanted to know what brings you the most joy, and then help you pursue whatever that thing was. Elisa is a wonderful person to receive this award because she also takes the time to get to know people in a deep way. As one person I talked to in preparing these remarks said about her, she's a light, a total star, someone who is genuinely interested in everyone she meets and brings care into every relationship. She's been an orientation leader for 3 years, even sticking with it after the difficult virtual COVID year. The only one I heard actually of your cohort to do that, so congratulations for having the persistence. She's also a club leader as well, and I could go on and on with her many accomplishments that you might find on a resume or CV. But I think the thing that's really important to note about her is that she sees the value in every student and every person who makes up the Gallatin community. It's this spirit of valuing all of Gallatin
that makes her so very, very deserving of this award. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Elisa. Now please welcome Professor Peter Anker, who will present a Rahul Hamid Award for Community Spirit to Geneva Tenney.
All right. How are you guys doing? Yeah. Any proud parents around? All right. I am super proud because I'm going to present this award, the Rahul Hamid Award for Community Spirit, which is given to students in recognition of outstanding scholarship and explanatory participation in community building activities at Gallatin and beyond. Basically, you have to be brilliantly smart and nice. There may be some people in the audience who know that not every smart person is also nice. But she's one of those exceptions. It's an honor and a privilege to me to give Geneva this award in the capacity of the Prime Advisor. She has been a truly outstanding student, both in terms of scholarship and community building, and that includes non-human communities, such as plant communities, as Geneva is a true environmentalist. You have done amazing work at Gallatin, Geneva, and we know that you will go far, very far. It's with pride that I present the Rahul Hamid Award for Community Spirit to Geneva. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Please welcome Professor Shatima Jones, who will present a Clyde Taylor Award for distinguished work in African American and Africana Studies to Ava Marshall.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is with great pleasure that I present the Clyde Taylor Award for Distinguished Work in African American and Africana Studies to Ava Marshall. Ava was my advisee for several years and an outstanding student in my courses detailing the business of Black women's hair and Black experiences in literature, movies, and television. Ava's final research paper, titled Laboring Women, Black and White Beauticians in Film, was excellent. She is one of few students to whom I extended an invitation to publish their paper in Confluence during Black History Month in 2021. Beyond my classroom, Ava's scholarly and artistic work have had a sizable impact on shaping how non-academics understand Blackness. She is an accomplished author who has published poetry and articles in notable journals and magazines. She has written a screenplay, Ballerina in the West End, and she is actively involved in improving the conditions of marginalized communities in her role as the program director of the Homegirl Project. Ava is truly a gem. She is effortlessly taking what she learns about Blackness, gender, and sexuality in the classroom and putting it into practice with her community engagement and activism outside NYU walls. Ava, my first impression of you was that you had brilliance, passion, and fearlessness within. You have shown yourself to possess all of those characteristics and then some. You are vibrant, a charismatic leader, joyous, and dedicated to your work. You are a magnet for others. Your little posse back there is evidence of that. People want and need to hear what you have to say. I will forever be in your audience. Congratulations on this well-deserved honor. Well-deserved.
Professor Roseanne Kennedy will now present a Clyde Taylor Award For distinguished work in African American and Africana Studies, to Naomi Tompkins.
I am so happy to present this award to Naomi. It is hard for me to sum up in 60 seconds all that Naomi has accomplished at Gallatin in her 4 years. I could make a list, and this would be a long list, of the many ways that Naomi has contributed to Gallatin and NYU. This would include her many leadership roles, both formal and informal, and her many scholarship accolades. For instance, she was class president both her first and second years, and student council president her junior year, and won the Horn Family Fund for Environmental Foundation twice. When I met Naomi during her first year at Gallatin, in the first year seminar, she told me that she wanted to study political economy, maybe global political economy. I thought this was a good starting point, but rather abstract and very general. But anticipated that this would develop, and it did. What Naomi honed in on over the 4 years was what she called Black political economy. As she was developing her concentration, she wrote a paper published in Confluence on Black environmentalism, which I have heard has been cited many, many times by many people. She continued her research through 2 Horn Foundation scholarships. Her first project studied Black-owned grocery cooperatives in Brooklyn, and the second taking her back to Arkansas to study Black farm cooperatives. Racial freedom and equality, Naomi insisted, was inseparable from land justice, food sovereignty, and environmental justice, including reparations for stolen land and labor. Black women specifically, yes, Black women specifically, Naomi argued, must be centered in these projects, following the great activist Fannie Lou Hamer. I want to add that in addition to her excellent scholarship and all the various leadership positions she has held, Naomi has been an active citizen student at Gallatin. She is the first to speak up for herself, but mostly for others, whenever she witnesses racism or injustice, and she organizes. She does this for her own survival and respect, but mostly for her friends and colleagues. I have been continuously impressed by Naomi's generosity, fearlessness, and commitment to justice in daily life, whether in the classroom, dorms, hallways, or at the institutional level. I am so proud to present this award to you.
Congratulations. We're moving on now to Special Service Awards. And if Pilar Cerrone could please approach the podium. And in this video, Professor Mari Cruz Soto will honor Pilar, who is receiving a Special Service Award. This
absolute pleasure these past 4 years of being Pilar's advisor. And there's just so much to say. There is the stellar GPA, the wonderfully crafted concentration titled Storytelling and Creation for Liberation that included a really great conversation with Professor June Foley, and through which Pilar thought about things that are very dear to her, about how to create spaces for empowered artistic expression, for liberation, for community, for vulnerable communities that should be encouraged to thrive. There is a minor in Chinese. There is also the work outside, or sort of outside the classroom, including Pilar's work with the Gallatin Writing Program, civic engagement activities, her recognition as an NYU MLK Junior Scholar, as an NYU Gallatin Tory Burke Innovation Scholar, the NYU Global Equity Fellowship, her work at the NYU Office of Global Programs as a community engagement and student outreach assistant. And I could keep on going for a long time, but given that time won't permit, I just want to conclude by saying It's really been such a pleasure. I want to emphasize on that because it's very rare to encounter a student that has so much joy for learning. I would enjoy every time she came to my office hours. Her smile would just brighten my office, and her eagerness and joy to learn was just simply contagious and refreshing, and it would be the best, absolutely best way to end the teaching day for me. It's been a joy perhaps for her, but more so thinking about myself for me, just having her as an advisee. It's been great, and I just wish her, Pilar, I wish for you the very absolute best.
Congratulations, Pilar. And now Professor Charles Gelman will present a Special Service Award to Jasper Conacher.
Well, I'd have begun with an enumeration just of a representative sample of Jasper's accomplishments and contributions to Gallatin and to the broader society, but that alone would have taken too long, so I will cut straight to the well-deserved praise. In so many ways, Jasper embodies in the highest degree the best of this school and its students. Jasper's outstanding academic record during her time at Gallatin is matched by her boundless dedication and service to the school, to her fellow students, and to her fellow human beings. I know that this is an award in recognition of Jasper's service, but I really wish to stress that you, Jasper, have been no slouch academically. You graduate with a sterling GPA, an ambitious and deeply learned concentration, the history and geopolitics of human rights. And as you and I both found out today, your senior honors, you received senior honors on your senior project as well, so congratulations for that. And Jasper also presented that project at the Senior Symposium recently, and it was a great presentation. I am confident in saying that anywhere that Jasper goes, she will make a better place. One day, I would like to understand how she finds the time and musters the energy to do all that she does. For now, that will remain one of the universe's many profound mysteries. And it will suffice that I have the pleasure and the honor to be able to present her with this award. Congrats, Jasper.
Congratulations. And if Yasmin Garay could please approach. And Professor Eric Brettschneider is honoring Yasmin in this video, and Yasmin is also receiving a Special Service Award.
As many disciplines represented here can tell us, predicting human behavior is hard. But what June Foley, her former advisor, and I can predict is that Yasmin Garay will bring her leadership skills and empathy to countless youth and families in need in the coming years. I not only teach, but occasionally play poker. Poker has taught me to always bet on a perfect hand, like the deck in Jasmine's cards. Jack of all good deeds, a king of curiosity, a queen of kindness, a 10 of hearts, and an ace at fighting for fairness. A royal flush that will enable her to build on her generous work at the Make-A-Wish Foundation and other charities like Behind the Book. To teach or advise Yasmin is to be lifted by her spirit and genuine nature. This recognition is fuel Yasmin will use for good works and about which Gallatin and her family will continue to feel pride. I'm betting on it.
Congratulations. Please welcome Professor Vasuki Nesia and Bobby Pena Herrera, our own Assistant Director of Student Life, to present our last award of the evening, a Special Service Award to Ethan Johnson.
Hi, you'll see, given Ethan's brilliance as well as his contribution to Gallatin, it needed two of us to give him his award. And it's probably a signal that he's either going to be, or maybe both, Secretary General of the United Nations or Chancellor of Oxford University. Ethan has always impressed me with his intellectual curiosity and academic focus. His achievements are attested to by many markers: Dean's List, membership in the Dean's Honor Society, admission to Oxford, Georgetown, Johns Hopkins, and today we learned also an award for his senior project. The list of achievements are plentiful. However, this is not just about his stellar grades. Ethan is a deep thinker who used his college years to probe big questions with intellectual integrity and perseverance. We have debated international relations at length during office hours, and Ethan was never afraid to rethink his positions and engage with wicked smart wit and verve. Ethan will make his graduate school proud, just as he has made Gallatin proud.
I am so thrilled to be alongside here with Dr. Vasuki Nesia to present the Service Award to Ethan. So I've been working with Ethan this year as he is the Gallatin Student Council president, and as the advisor to the Gallatin Student Council, I have truly had the pleasure of watching his excellence up front. Ethan is not only incredibly dedicated to his studies and his work, but he's also incredibly dedicated to his student community. As GSC president, Ethan has not just sought to bring the Gallatin student community together in engaging and meaningful ways, but he's also worked tirelessly to advocate for changes to better the student experience and overall success for Gallatin students. Through his advocacy, the Gallatin Student Council was not only able to secure a much-needed renovation to the student lounge for the 2023-2024 academic year, but he also helped to bring more computers to student spaces on the 5th floor, citing how access to technology can increase student retention at Gallatin and NYU. There's truly nobody more deserving, I know, for this award, but also if you know Ethan, you know that he's like the living embodiment of that student superlative, most likely to succeed. I have no doubt that Ethan is going to do literally everything that he plans to do. You're so deserving of this, so I'm really excited to honor that to you.
Congratulations, Ethan. And now let's bring Dean Victoria Rosner back to the podium.
What an extraordinary, extraordinary group of students. Can I just ask you all to give them one big final round of applause? I also just really want to congratulate our students, not just on the accomplishments that have been enumerated for you here tonight, but also on their great good fortune to have this group of faculty advisors who are so clearly just absolutely devoted to their students and celebrate their successes every step of the way. So let's also have some applause for the faculty. And I know I suspect I am not only speaking for myself when I say that I am beyond excited to see these students walk across the stage of the Beacon Theater tomorrow and receive their diplomas and graduate from Gallatin. It's going to be quite something. I know we have all been sitting in our seats for quite some time, and I understand that a lavish reception awaits us just in the next room. So I want to thank you all for your attendance, and let's get the party started.